What is going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be hopping back on the super cheap turbo Civic build. We've got a whole bunch of new parts for this thing, including a whole long block that we plan to build for it. So let's get through the intro so that we can check this stuff out. Now that we've gotten through the intro, let's take a look at what we're working with. So as you guys can see, we've got a whole long block up there. This is a D16Y8. We picked it up on Facebook Marketplace with a supposed spun rod bearing for $150, including everything that you see laid out right here. Even with a bad bearing, I think it's going to work out to be a super good deal. So the first thing I want to do now that we've got it home is get it yanked out the truck. We're going to start cleaning it up, get the torque converter off it so that we can start disassembling this thing and see how bad the damage is. So let's get the engine hoist over here. We'll get this thing pulled out and get to work. So as you guys see, we got this thing all cleaned up and degreased, and I went ahead and brought it in here, got it mounted up on the stand because we're finally ready to tear this thing down. If you guys want to see more just about the stand, you can go back to the previous video. I did an assembly and review on the stand itself, where we got it and how much, all that kind of stuff. So far, I like it, but we are ready to start tearing this thing down now that it's all cleaned up and see what's going on with it. We know that there is something wrong with it. That's why the kid pulled it. I'm gonna guess that it's a rod bearing, but we're not sure. Hopefully the cylinders are clean. If not, we'll have to bring this block to the machine shop, but we will cross that bridge when we get there. So to start off with, we're gonna get the intake and exhaust manifold off it and then start getting all of the accessory drive stuff off. All that stuff's gotta go so that we can start tearing this thing down. So let's get some tools out and get to work. We've got this thing to a point where we've got all of the accessories ripped off of it. We've got the oil drained out of it. Nothing crazy came out, some fine metal, but no big crazy chunks. So the next thing I'm gonna do is pull the valve cover so that we can start working on getting the head off, and then we'll flip it over and start working on the bottom end, depending on what we see in the cylinders. So let's get the valve cover off so we can take a look at this thing. As you've seen, we got the valve cover off, and it is not looking all that promising so far. This thing definitely looks like it had about 1,000,000 miles on it. It's just nasty and pretty sludgy and just gross in there. It actually smells pretty bad too. So not super pleased with what we're finding so far. They didn't know how many miles were on the actual engine, so I can't be mad at anybody. And for 150 bucks, who really cares? But it's definitely pretty nasty. Doesn't look like it had the best oil change intervals, but we're gonna keep tearing this thing down and see what we find. Now that we got the valve cover off, I wanna get the balancer off. Just gonna wiggle it. Just like so. Don't lose the key that's in there. Little tiny key right there. Make sure we set that to the side. Now we can take the timing belt off. If you guys are gonna take one of these apart and put it back together without messing with the head, you can put this whole thing in time first, but I'm gonna be taking apart the head and everything, going through everything, so I'm not really worried about it right now. Then don't just yank that off. We gotta loosen that sensor to get that out. Now that we've got the timing belt off, we're finally ready to start pulling the head to see what the cylinders look like. And now the moment of truth. There is a ton of carbon in there. I've never seen something like this before. Like, I can literally like scoop it and make piles in the cylinders here, like on the pistons. It's all over some of the walls, but the cylinder walls themselves actually look pretty good. I'm not sure, it probably won't pick up on camera, but there's actually still some cross hatching left, which is a really good sign. I'm obviously gonna be pulling the pistons, rods, everything crank right out of this thing because we're gonna be upgrading all that. But I don't know if that's normal, all this carbon. It's almost like some sort of chemical was put in here and it started dissolving it and it just all kind of fell when it sat. But very weird. If that's normal, let me know down in the comments below. I've never seen something like that. If you guys know, let me know. But now that we got that done, I'm gonna vacuum all that out, and then I'm gonna use my little suction kit, get any of the coolant and stuff out of here, anywhere that we can, so that we can flip this thing over without making a mess and start pulling the oil pan off and see if it's got a bad bearing. Oh yeah, definitely bearing failure or something. Metal everywhere. So we got the oil pan off, as you guys just seen, and we definitely found the carnage. You can see some big pieces right here, like this one, off of this bearing right down in here. Not sure if you guys can see it on camera, but that's the bearing sticking right out of the connecting rod cap. And then if you come over to this one, the nut's actually completely missing off of that rod. Not sure why that happened or how that happened, but it definitely came around and smacked the block right down in there. Nothing crazy. That should be 100% fine. We'll file it down and I think that'll be all right. The cylinder walls do look good, which is a plus. But you can see he definitely just kept running this thing. Like, it was making a noise and he just kept going because there is metal absolutely everywhere. And this car was bone stock, so kind of surprising that it failed in this manner. But it definitely tore this thing up pretty good. So next thing we're gonna do is try to get some of this metal out of here, and then we'll start taking the bottom end apart, get the rods, the pistons, crank, get all of it out, see what we're working with so that we know what we need to order. You guys can see where it smacked this pretty good. Hit it there, there, and over there. Not sure if that's gonna affect us in any way. We'll have to take a look at it and decide what we want to do there. Right. Got it. Little baby rods. It's tiny.
The lawnmower's got more than that. Oops.
Nice.
Yep. You'll find out now. You might have to turn it. Oh. Yeah.
Good bearing.
The bearing not there no more.
That one is smoked, guys. There's no bearing left. It definitely spun a bearing. You can see it in the cap here, and you can see the actual bearing, what's left of it. If we can get it out, just careful, don't slice your hand open.
Yeah.
That was what's left of the bearing. So it 100% spun it, almost welded the two together, like friction welded it. That one is 100% smoked and probably going to cost us this crankshaft. So set this stuff to the side and we'll investigate further. Trying to get our last rod out here.
Yeah, that bolt's bent. That bolt might be bent.
Yeah. I'd say that one's a little cooked.
Smoked.
Not sure if you guys can see that on camera. I'll show you after, but smoked.
Look for a nut while you're at it. Bolt.
Crankshaft is out. So as you guys seen, we got the block all the way torn down. This is as far as we need to go for today. But as far as the block is concerned, it doesn't look too bad. It's super dirty, but of course we're gonna clean this thing all up anyways. But as far as the cylinders and all of the bores and everything go, it looks pretty decent. We do have the spot right there and right over here on cylinder 1 where the rod must have came around and whacked it a few times after it lost that connecting rod nut. But other than that, the bottom end doesn't look horrible. So if we flip this thing around real quick and take a look at the cylinders, we can see that those don't look horrible either. So the bores themselves, or the cylinders themselves, don't look too bad. I was expecting a little bit worse. I think with a ball hone, we'll be able to get the glaze and get these things cleaned right up. So that was pretty awesome to see. Super happy about that. Then we have the head laid up over here. That doesn't look too bad either. It's super dirty, obviously, but we're gonna clean all that up. We're gonna take the head apart. I might do valve springs, I'm not sure yet, and same with the cam. Not 100% sure which route we're gonna go there yet, but we will at bare minimum be taking this thing apart and checking it out, getting it all cleaned up, and I might decide to do a little bit of port work. If you guys seen a couple videos back, we ported our max speeding rods turbo, and I actually don't mind doing that type of stuff, so we might decide to, at bare minimum, port match this thing. We're definitely going to lap the valves back in so that this thing is sealing up in tip-top shape and give it the best chance it can have to make some power when we put it together in the super cheap turbo Civic. But we do have an issue with the crankshaft. Not sure how much justice the camera will do, but that number 1 journal is completely smoked. That's the one that the rod nut came off of, and that thing was slapping around in there and got all tore up. Not sure if it's savable, but it's definitely pretty beat up, and it's a shame because if you look at all the other ones, they're actually in really good shape until you get to number 4. That one had the spun bearing, but it actually doesn't look horrible, and nothing catches your fingernail when you go across it. It actually feels extremely smooth. So this is our main problem child, and like I said, not positive if that's even going to be fixable. But we're going to take a ride over to Larry's Auto Machine in Groton, Connecticut. We've worked with them before. They've done some stuff on our ProCharge GTO for us, and they've always been great to work with. So we're going to take it over there, let him take a look at it and see what he thinks, see if it's savable, and if it's even something that we want to save. Because I haven't 100% decided if we're going to run the Y8 crankshaft, or if I'm going to try to track down a good Z6 so that we have the extra oiling. Not 100% sure which route we're going to go there, so we'll go talk to him and that will help influence our decision. But as always, I appreciate you guys for checking out the channel. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, ring that bell, and check us out on all of our other social media platforms, Facebook, TikTok, and Bought to Build Official on Instagram. And we will catch you on the next one. Bye.